All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Health Movement Podcast. I can't believe these are the episodes in the 50s. I have to go back and count and see. But I have an awesome guest with me today. I'm super excited to have her on. It's hitting an angle of nutrition that we haven't covered really on the show before. So I'm super pumped for this conversation. But before I introduce her, I'm a certified personal trainer and a teacher of over 20 years. As always, we are not doctors. So before you go changing any nutrition or diet plans or exercise programming, please consult your physician. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, wherever it happens to be, jump over to YouTube to the Health Movement podcast, like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. So without any further ado, with me is Kiley Houck. Her titles are quite long, so I'm going to throw the ball into her court and let her introduce herself.
Hello, thank you for having me. And yes, my titles are a bit extensive, but hi, I am Kiley Houck, certified health coach, and I also am certified Moderation 365 nutritional consultant. That does not mean I am a nutritionist. I just talk about food and biofeedback with that. So keep that in mind, guys. And I also have my master's in social work because I used to be a counselor.
Oh, nice.
So kind of what I do is blend all of that together. And I use my certified health coach and social work background to create this ability to talk to people about emotional regulation and their mindset when it comes to food. I am very anti-diet and I want to help people ditch that food guilt, let go of the rules, and build a relationship with food that actually feels good, because you deserve to eat with relief and not with shame.
I like that. So jump into emotional regulation with food for me. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, great question. So with emotional regulation, we often consider food as something that is fuel. We say food is fuel and leave it at that, and we get angry at people or ourselves when we're eating for comfort, or when we're stressed, or when we're frustrated, angry, when we have brain shutdown mode. And often it's because we focus on the symptoms rather than the root cause. So emotional regulation helps us actually check in with what's going on behind the scenes and what's driving your eating habits. It's all good. And when you can figure out that piece, whether it is searching for comfort, why you need comfort, what void you're trying to fill, and anything in between that for any kind of emotion, then you can start to change your eating habits. So basically just finding a balance with your emotions.
Okay. So I always looked at food from the perspective of, and I know it's not good and we're trying to change this mindset, but like cookies are bad and, chicken is good and all that. And I get that cookies aren't bad and you're not a bad person if you eat cookies. And I've certainly gone through a whole sleeve of Oreos myself like that. That has certainly happened. So how do you differentiate, or how do you help people look at, all right, it's okay to eat this, but also understand the fact that if that's all you eat, your body is going to react to that that food a certain way as opposed to other foods?
Yeah. So when we are eating foods like that, like the foods that we do consider to be bad, I'll use cookies, for example. We often live in this scarcity mindset, this illicitness, this form of desire where the foods that we are labeling as bad become so wanted. They become so craved and they sit up on this pedestal. So we start to eat them and then eat them and then overeat them, thinking that if we ever allow ourselves to eat that badly labeled food, we're just going to overdo it and eat it continuously, and that's all we're going to eat. But really, if we can neutralize foods and we can see them all on the same playing field, we will reduce the likelihood where we eat all of just one thing over and over again. Because all of the foods that you label as good, I imagine that that's not an issue for you. You don't have to really watch yourself and make sure you're not overeating all of these other things that you just
Yeah.
naturally eat. And so when we are able to talk to ourselves in a different way and understand that food is not good or bad, right or wrong, we just have to make intentional choices that actually support ourselves. We'll start going towards the things that actually support us nutritionally, mentally, physically, emotionally. And it ends up weighing out that risk of only eating the bad stuff.
I got you. And then, so what's that look like? What's the process for you when you work with somebody to help them with this emotional regulation? Like, I imagine every case is different. Everybody starts from a different place. But if you could just talk in general terms.
Yeah. So everybody does start in a different place, but we always start with mindset work, whether that is in regards to looking at some of your limiting beliefs that we need to unlearn and unravel, whether that is looking at maybe how you talk to yourself, that self narrative, and if it's positive or negative and a lot of the self-sabotaging that you're doing. So if you have some automated habits that aren't serving you, we really want to take a look at that and take into account awareness, because obviously when we're doing this, we do notice that we're doing this, but it's usually paired with, oh my God, I suck. Oh my God, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Oh my God, why do I do this to myself? And we need to change that dialogue with it. So no matter how much you read about how much mindset matters, if you don't actively talk about it with like within yourself, you're not going to make that shift. You can't just like do the things and then say bad things to yourself still.
Yeah,
So,
well, I imagine it's like any other skill. You have to work at it to
mhm,
change the mindset in this instance, but it would be any if you want to learn how to shoot a basketball, you need to practice that skill consistently.
mhm,
And if you miss a shot, you have to look at like, okay, what did I do that caused that to happen so that I can
mhm.
correct it for the next time. And it's not like you're going to miss shots, you're going to make
Yeah,
mistakes along the way. That's normal. And it gives you the opportunity to learn and kind of troubleshoot what happened and move forward from there.
exactly. And you nailed the next part of the process is when we start to actually implement eating habits into the coaching process so that we can see, okay, your mind is directing you towards this. What are your automations directing you towards? And how can we actually reflect on those and learn from them rather than punishing ourselves and then pursuing whatever it is based on punishment?
I got you. Um, that's a good way to look at it. Sorry, I'm just kind of processing what you're
Yeah.
saying because this is a new conversation for me, and I understand what you're saying, and I think that that's a great way to look at anything that you're doing in your life. Is you set a goal, and in this regard, I imagine that you want to be healthy
Hmm.
and live a healthy lifestyle, and that the food we eat does affect how we feel.
Hmm.
And I'm not labeling it good or bad, but I know it does affect. And there was an example this morning I thought of. I've talked about my breakfast on here before, but it's been a minute, so
Yeah.
I have a new one that I like, where I'll take a like a whole wheat wrap and I'll smush ground beef into it and
Mm.
throw that into a skillet face down. And while that's cooking, I cook up some scrambled eggs, and then I flip it, throw it in with hot sauce, avocado, and a little bit of cheese, and that's like a my breakfast burrito. It's fantastic. I didn't have any avocado this morning and I
Mm.
didn't have any cheese. So I did it without those. And I felt myself so much hungrier so much sooner. And I know it's because I didn't have the fats that were involved, like that come with the avocado and cheese and some of the other things. But I probably cut the fat in half by not including those foods. So
Hmm.
looking back at it, it's like, all right, I know those are good for me. It it had a negative effect, me not eating the fat that I'm used to eating in that
Hmm.
regard. So it's funny that you mentioned that when we're talking about it
Yeah.
today. But
And I even want to play with that a little bit because there's
oh,
another
play away.
aspect. Yes, there's another aspect that people miss when they are so focused on the macros side. And it's not to say that macros are bad by any means or that I don't use them because they are important, but it's not just the fact that you are missing fats, it's the fact that you were not satisfied by the end of your
Yes.
meal. When we aren't satisfied, we're still going to be hungry, even if we're not really hungry. Mentally, we're craving more. And if we are more like creamy based eaters and that's not paired with the meal that we're having, we're going to seek out more sooner.
And this is going to sound really lame, and I honestly don't care. But looking at it, I missed the green in the avocado. I wasn't like in tears, but I was like, oh,
Hmm,
this isn't what I
bland.
normally have. I want my old one. And like it was just it felt different, which is
Yeah.
so pathetic that you're old when you're like, oh, my food isn't exactly the way I'm used to it. Like it's pretty bad. But it definitely I noticed the difference enough to remember it, so we talk about it
Hmm.
right now. It was a little
It is.
embarrassing.
No, it's not because I do the same thing. I'm like a big oatmeal girl and I love to do different fruits. I'll always switch that up, but I
Mm.
always have peanut butter. I just
Yeah.
love peanut butter and it makes it a little bit thicker and it gives it that nutty flavor. And I didn't have any. And so I tried to pour hemp seeds in it and I was like, this is
Oh.
not doing it. And I got peanut butter later and I just had it with an apple because I was like, I know I'm craving this still and I'm not going to try to fix it or push it off or wait till tomorrow because who knows what I'm going to do to try to fulfill that. If I
Mm.
know it's okay and I'm just going to go get that, or I'm going to talk to myself in a way that's like, okay, what can we do instead to fulfill this need?
Yeah, I peanut butter's a tough one for me if I'm
Mm,
being honest because I love it, but I also know I'm like 7 scoops deep if I open the I don't have any regulation when it comes to peanut butter, so I don't buy it too often, and when I do, it's gone pretty quickly. So I do get your love of peanut butter, I
oh,
really
yeah.
do, but that one I'm just like it's not worth the battle because I know how I feel after the amount that I
Hmm.
eat, and I'm like, wow. And that's probably the emotional regulation piece that you're talking about, where I go through half a jar in 2 days, and then I don't physically feel good, but I know emotionally I'm like, oh, you idiot! Like, what are you doing? And
Yep.
so I guess I'm still learning too. I'm trying to figure all this out.
And that's just part of it. We all don't really realize, like, I call them our trigger foods. We don't really realize what's going to send us over until we do it maybe once or twice or three times. And then we just kind of push it away because we don't want to deal with it. And we think that that kind of not fixes it, but it resolves the issue for now. But then you think about peanut butter and we talked about it, so you might end up wanting it soon. And when it comes into the house, how can you create this kind of behavior that doesn't make you go headstrong into it? And that's actually exactly where I come in. I normalize that food and I use a lot of different social work background concepts and perspectives in order to help you do that. And it allows you to practice without feeling guilty. Like a lot of people will go from a whole box of cookies to like a half a box to 10 cookies to 4 cookies and then 2 cookies and they can have them in the house all week. Nothing
That's
happens.
awesome. That's awesome. And I know people hear, oh, half a box of cookies, that's terrible. But if you're starting at a whole box and you can work your way down to half a box, that's progress. All you're looking for are
Huge.
baby steps. That's all you
Mm-hmm.
need. One of the things for me, and I love pizza, and they have these freschetta frozen pizzas that are like rectangular. They're really thin crust, and they're phenomenal. But if I put one in the oven, I know full well I'm eating it all,
Mm.
and I don't like. In emotional piece aside, that much pizza just doesn't like you don't feel good. You're very sluggish. So I
Yeah.
started getting these little naan breads. They're
Mm.
Indian breads. They're not very big, but I'll throw 2 of them in an air fryer and cook up a little pizza with that, and it
Mm-hmm.
that satisfies that craving, and it's calorie wise and macros and all that. It's not bad at all. So when I know I need it, I'm like, all right, that's there. Sometimes I want it, and I'll give myself that little treat.
Yeah, no, actually, this is so funny because there's a pizza that I used to do this with, and I have to Google it because I don't know what the flatbread I would use is called anymore. I haven't done it in a hot minute, but I used to buy this flatbread. You can get it, or not flatbread. Well, now I just forgot what it was.
Uh oh.
I was
You're going to
typing
leave
and
us
then I
all
got too
hanging.
excited. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm going to have to come back to this because that
Okay,
is
no
really
worries.
going to harsh my vibe today until I remember what that was. That's when I know I'm getting old, is I'm literally talking to someone about something, and then the moment I'm ready to say the actual word I'm thinking about, gone.
Yeah, trust me, when you get to my age, that's like a daily occurrence that happens. I'll be teaching and I'll be mid-sentence. I'm like, guys, I can't think of the word. And it's something like door, or like, it's
Yeah.
not that bad, but it's like a word that's in my vocabulary. And it's just,
Mhm.
you get sidetracked, and it definitely happens. So
Yeah.
that's
It's
okay.
casual.
Yes, definitely. So you started off as a social worker and you transitioned to this. Can I ask, like, was there something like a catalyst for this, or something that set you down this path?
Oh yeah. So
Oh,
I when I was leaving social work, or towards the end of social work, I was at my highest weight, which was 195 pounds, and I was mentally, physically, emotionally numb. I didn't want to feel anything because I spent all my energy and my emotion in my counseling sessions or with my
oh, I got
kids or
you.
with my clients. And so coming out of that, I deep dove into the diet fads, and I grabbed onto all of them all at once. And I used the more toxic ones, the ones that were super punishing and guilt oriented,
Restrictive, and yeah.
restrictive. And it sent me, it sent me where I wanted to go. I lost 65 pounds. I ended up hitting my lowest weight of 128, but I also was more broken in that aspect than I was when I started, because
Oh,
I didn't have any kind of self-respect, self-confidence, self-love. I had no idea what I needed. My hunger cues, fullness cues were a wreck. My acne, my sleep, my energy, everything was just a mess because I just focused so much on the calories and the macros and the cardio or the weightlifting.
yeah.
So I remember very clearly I was crying about PB Fit because I used to not let myself have peanut butter. And I went to lick the spoon as I'm meal prepping for the day
Oh,
before, but I'm in an intermittent fast, so I can't. And I am just looking at the spoon of like 2 calories, and I throw it in my sink and I just start crying. I'm losing it.
no.
And it was actually a beautiful moment because I let go of all of the rules, of all of the restrictions, of all the pain just for a split second. And I felt so much relief because I was no longer trying to force something that wasn't fitting me, my lifestyle, my values. And I leaned into that. And I wanted to know more about what I was feeling. And I realized it was very much mindfulness, intuitive eating, really coming back to yourself and reconnecting with your body, your emotions, your needs without that judgment. So, with more compassion. And I didn't look back. So, when I started resolving a lot of the eating habits and the eating behaviors that I was struggling with so much, either because of binge eating when I was overweight or dieting and restricting insanely while I was in this mode of shedding the weight, I found a middle. I found a balance. And I wanted to help other people do that because, like you said, not a lot of people talk about this.
No, no, they don't. And I've noticed a common theme in a lot of the guests, because most of the people who are coming on the show are established in whatever profession that they're passionate about. There has been this awakening moment for everybody, and we talked about it last night on the live show, but everybody seems to hit that breaking point.
Mm.
And it's only once you get to that low that you're able to get that clarity and realization, like, all right, I got to figure this out. Let me figure out where I want to go and what I need to do. And it sucks being
Mm-hmm.
there, but I feel like it's almost a necessity to truly appreciate and be grateful for the things that you do have. And peanut butter and, the little joys in life
Yep.
that's the good stuff. Life isn't perfect. There are always going to be good days and bad days, and that's never going to change. No matter how successful you get,
Mhm.
everybody deals with things. So if you're emotionally I guess you're satisfied with who you are and where you're going, you can
Mhm.
handle all that stuff so much better. I made
Yeah.
a huge assumption there, but that's what I've learned in this whole process,
Mhm.
that I've noticed from people, which is pretty amazing. So while we hate those lows, they're pretty helpful, actually.
It's like you can't have a rainbow without a little rain. Like you have to
Yeah.
have that moment or multiple moments to show you that beauty. And it actually makes me think a lot about recovery and for addiction, because a lot of people, they won't be able to stay sober until they actually hit that lowest low that they're like, I can't go back to that. Like
Yeah.
this has to be the last time I do that.
Yeah, no, and I've heard that too. And I butchered the quote a few weeks ago, but it was along the lines of when the pain of where you are exceeds the pain of what you have to do to go to the
Mm,
next place. Like that's when you finally make that change.
yep.
Sounds like that spoonful of 2 calories. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. And that was, I mean, in itself isn't a huge thing to look at, but I imagine that's compounded 1,000 times with everything that got you there.
Oh yeah, I was like, there were spinach leaves I was crying about because it was like an ounce over, a gram over or something, and I was like losing my mind. It's just ridiculous how number crazy and obsessed we can be with that.
Yes.
With something that's just so easy to manipulate and control.
Yeah. And it's tough too because you talk to, there was one client I was working with, and it was kind of sad. She dealt with a lot of body dysmorphia, and
Mm,
was told at a very young age, just it was hammered home, you have to be skinny, you have to be. So that was the mindset she had. And she looked great, but she couldn't see it. And
hmm.
she was at maybe 1,300 calories a day. So the goal was to get her to eat more
Yeah.
and be okay with that. So over a month, we slowly built it up to maybe 1,800 calories a day. And at the end of the month, she was upset because she hadn't lost a pound. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're eating significantly more every day and you weigh the same exact weight. Like
Yeah.
the weight doesn't matter. I'm like, how do you physically feel? She's like, well, I feel better. I have more energy. And I'm like, that's okay. Like that's the goal, is how you feel. Don't worry about a number on a scale because that is so misleading.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you help people who are, because I know numbers and things can be triggers for certain people. How do you
Hmm.
help people overcome that side of things?
It actually goes back to a lot of probably what that girl was experiencing. We have those learned beliefs, these
Yeah.
learned, this is just the way it is kind of outlook when we're growing up, whether it's from our parents, our teachers, our community, the everyone in the media. And it kind of trains us to think and feel a certain way. And so when you kind of take that on head on and you start going against whatever that limiting belief is, what I would consider it for her, that she had to be skinny, she had to care about the number, just kind of asking that if that is true. Like, is all of that real? Is it honest? Is it relating to your specific life? So, for example, if someone's telling me that they have to be skinny or else they'll die. Like I have had people who just like go so extravagant with it. It's like, I won't be happy. I won't have this. I won't be able to wear this. I won't be able to do this. Like everything is just ruined. And I have to be like, show me the Carfax. Is that actually what's going to happen? Or is
Yeah.
that just what you fear is going to happen because that's the energy that you're feeding into this other behavior? So it's kind of just bringing up this, again, awareness of what is really going on because the numbers are not a real definer. The skinny is not a real definer.
No. And this is a huge assumption, and I hope it's not offensive to anybody, but what I've noticed in my experience, at least, is that when you have that focus on a number, even if you hit it, you're still not satisfied. You still need lower and low, and there never will be a point where you're like, okay, I look perfect now.
Yep.
It's that image is so tough, and it's, we're looking at it everywhere, and you see now Photoshop things, and AI is correcting these images on social media and everything. So it makes it hard to see what normal people are actually supposed to look like.
Right. Oh my gosh. It's not even just Photoshop anymore. Like, it is an
No, it's
entirely different person. It's crazy. But that is actually exactly what happened with me. Is I was like, I am going to be happy once I'm skinny. I'm allowed to be happy once I'm skinny, once I'm smaller. And I would see the scale continue to move, and I never got happier. And it wasn't until I let go of that need for it to be a specific number, a specific pant size, a specific whatever it was, for me to be happy, it had to go internal. It had to reflect
yeah.
within me and what was going on and why I felt so hard, like terrible, having a hard time, struggling.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting to build a certain physique.
Mm-mm.
That's fine. Like, there are whole professions where people are trying to build muscle, and you check your symmetry and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just, you want to do it the right way, and you want to do it for the right reasons, not because you want to fit into a certain mold or image or something like that somebody else
Mm-hmm.
has. And I love the fact that you were so reflective and just looked internally to figure out, all right, what is it I really will really make me happy. And I imagine that's what's so helpful for the people that you work with, because you've been where they are, and
Mm-hmm.
they look at you and you look great. Like, I'm sure people look at you and they're like, wow, like, it must be so hard. And you're like, well, it takes time, but it's a different sort of goal than a
Mm-hmm.
number. So I imagine that trust that you're able to build is what really matters there.
Yeah, that rapport is something that I was able to continue after my counseling days and my foster care days. It, I think, is what makes me stand out the most, because people, I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to accept it. But people, they just feel safe with me. And I think it's because I'm willing to be vulnerable, and I'm willing to talk about the things that are not the fanciest, sexiest, prettiest
Yeah.
part of the journey. Like, I want to showcase the hard stuff because no one told me about it. And that's why my weight loss wasn't going to be sustainable. I was going to go back if I kept trying to force all of these things that weren't aligned with my values.
Yeah. And I think looking at the why, am I
Mm,
doing this just because I want to see a number on the scale, or do I want to get healthy so I can beat my grandkids in a race when I'm 80? Like, that's what I want to do, or whatever your goal. Maybe you want to reach 120. And the
yeah.
way to do that is you got to build muscle, you got to eat healthy, you got to take care of yourself, you got to stay active. So
Mm-hmm.
find the things that are important to you, and then align your goals to your whatever path you're taking to hit those. Because
Yeah, that's actually, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go.
It's one of the little activities that I do in the very beginning is what is your why? But rather than just like leaving it at that point, even if it's like wanting to be able to raise my grandkids, it always goes deeper than that. And I want you to keep
Yeah.
asking yourself why, because oftentimes, for like that example, it's my grandpa sat on the couch and we didn't have that relationship. And I want to be able to offer that to my grandkids. And it's like, it hits so deep, and you just don't know until you keep asking.
Yeah, and that's true. There's always, it sounds annoying in your own head when you keep saying, all right, well, why? Okay, well, why? You're like, I sound like a 2-year-old when I can't have cookies, whenever I want.
Yeah.
But you want to get deeper than just,
Mm-hmm.
you're right, that initial reasoning, because
Mm-hmm.
it's, maybe your grandfather passed away when you were young, and you want to be able to do the things with your grandkids that you never got to do with your grandfather,
Nailed
whatever it
it.
happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
But the why, I think, is incredibly important there.
Yeah. It's the only way that you're going to keep going when challenges come up, because you're not going to have that willpower and motivation the whole freaking time. You need
No.
something that's going to keep you going, and it's not just going to be what you think it is. Like, it's got to be this like heavy, I don't know. Like, I always think of the little boots that are on car tires when they've gotten a lot of speeding tickets. It's like you have got to get something that's going to ingrain into you so hard that you're not going to budge.
All right. I'm going to ask you a personal question. You can say no, and I'll cut it from the show. I promise, if you don't want to.
Do
What
it.
is your why?
So it's a lot different from when I started. When I started, the reason I noticed that I was 195 pounds was my best friend. I was in her wedding. I was her maid of honor, and she got her pictures back, went over to look at them, and I didn't recognize myself in the picture. I overlooked myself, and I could not believe that that was me. And that kind of grew my why in the beginning of, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't recognize myself anymore. And I want to get back to the person that feels like that's me. Like, I want to reconnect with myself. I want to rediscover myself. And I lost myself along the way, especially because I was super numb and depressed at that point. Yeah. So it was a lot of just like soul searching. That was my why that drove me. But when I ended up getting to the like end number that I stopped at, and I still wasn't happy, my why was ultimately what I said to my first therapist. I just want to be happy. I want to know what it's like to wake up and truly just be happy, because for years I never fully experienced it. I could just make it look like I was experiencing it because I knew what that looked like for other people.
That's a good reason. That's definitely a good reason. How do you help other people reach that? I know you say you keep asking why, but I imagine you have to build this level of trust. How long does it usually take working with somebody to get to that point where you can really break those walls down? And I know it's different for everybody, but just in general.
So a lot of the people that I work with, I start out like before we even before they even invest, I am discussing what kind of person do you need in me? Are you someone who likes to be called out, who wants someone to be blunt with you and straight up? Because if you are, then that is going to go a lot faster, that process. Yes. But if you are tiptoeing and you're nervous and you are worried that if I say the wrong thing, then you're going to break, it's going to be a lot slower. And a lot of the times those people don't even come to me because they're not ready to make that change yet. So fortunately, it goes pretty fast, because the people that I end up working with, they're like, call me out.
They're ready.
Yeah, I need it because I've been calling myself out and other people have been calling me out and nothing's sticking. So I need someone to call me out that actually knows what the heck is going on, so that it's not just like, hey, why are you doing that? It's, hey, I'm seeing this. What's the choice that you're making here? Why are you making that choice? What choice do you want to make instead? How can we get to that point?
So it's a very non-judgmental framing, it sounds like, that you have there, where they're not wrong for what they're doing, but that's not the direction that they're trying to go. So what can we do to get down a different path?
Exactly. There doesn't ever have to be judgment. There never needs to be shame or guilt or embarrassment. I will say everything that's been ever going on in my life to ensure that someone feels like they can share something about themselves that is like making them nervous.
Yeah.
And that has really helped just kind of building that past like rapport, but more like relationship, to where it's like we are on the same level. I'm just lucky enough to have already worked through this, but I am no better than you. Like, you can be a human, because me too.
Did you have someone help you through it, or was this something you did on your own?
I wish I had someone, because I think it would have been a lot faster and a lot easier, but I did it all myself. And I truly think the only reason that I was able to come out of all of it was because I had so much education in the social work, in the counseling, in the psychology, that I knew once I could gain that awareness, what to do next. But a lot of people, they may be able to like acknowledge that, they may be able to read about what to do next, but they don't know how to implement it. And that's what I did on a daily. I told people how to implement the
That's
things that
true.
needed to be changed.
It's like if a mechanic's car breaks down, he can fix it himself. But if
Hmm.
mine does, I can change a wiper blade. But if it's something big, I'm gonna need help. And
Yeah.
maybe if I watch enough YouTube videos or try to figure it out, I could get there. A lot
Hmm.
of trial and error and probably cost a lot more money and take a lot longer. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, we this guy who was on the show before had talked about, and this was more like overall health habits of, if you are living unhealthily for 10 years, you've walked into the forest of unhealthiness for 10 years. You need
Mm.
to now walk out of it. And it can be confusing. You might get lost, but if you have a coach to help you along the way, it's a much more direct path.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's okay to ask for help from people who've done it before.
Mm.
If you've never done your taxes before, you're probably going to hire somebody to help you out. You're not just going to take a guess and send it in and be like, oh, I hope that works. You know,
No, the
so
repercussions are too much.
yes, exactly. So this is no different. It's
Mm.
just, it's not, I guess, as common a job as an accountant,
Mm.
to find somebody in your position that can help you out. But it's in my mind a lot more valuable in the long run, because it's your life.
Yeah.
We want to try to live it as much as we can.
It's crazy. I almost feel like it has to do a lot with marketing, because everybody wants to market about money and talk about money, but people don't want to market and talk about health because it's not sexy. There's no real quick fix to what we're doing, but the GLP-1s and the Ozempics and all of the diet shedding stuff, or the weight shedding stuff, that is appealing and that's marketed. So it always comes like, I see finances and taxes and Fidelity and Charles Schwab and all that all the time, but
Yeah.
I never hear about any of the stuff that I'm doing or you're doing or other people in the space are doing.
Yeah, and that's a tangent I could go down for hours, and I don't want to get all conspiratorial, or that's I don't want to turn off too many viewers or listeners at that point in time. But I certainly have plenty of opinions on that side of things.
We can talk about it
But
later.
yeah, we'll do it after the call. We'll have our theories in full effect. So what's next for you? Is this something you want to grow, to have other people working with you to kind of expand on the space you're doing, or are there other things that you're pursuing in addition to this? What keeps Kiley going every day?
My marbles are all in this jar.
Really?
This is where I want to be. This is what I want to be doing, because I finally found something that not only I'm passionate about, but I can see that I am, it's not even just helping. Like, I am turning on a light bulb, like a thought process, just like this idea that anything I say is something that someone hadn't considered before. And I don't ever want to stop talking. Like, I just never want to shut up, honestly, because I just want more people to hear the things that I found out after years. So whether that does look like having more people with Kiley's Health Haven or not, honestly, I'm going to keep going strong and do what I like to do. If I ever find someone that feels like a fit, absolutely come on over. But I definitely want to grow my business until I'm at capacity.
That's good. Have you ever done like presentations and public speaking on this sort of thing?
So no, I actually have given out a couple business cards. And fortunately, I have had situations as a social worker where I did a little bit of public speaking, but not with this criteria. So I usually do it like online behind a screen.
I got you.
I don't know how I would do in person anymore, because since COVID and then building my own business, I have been behind a screen for so long that, like, when I said fortunately, I'm like, I would love for it to happen, but also like, am I going to freak out because I might have a panic attack?
I think you'd be good. I think you know what you're talking about, and if it's what you wanted to do, you've made this change already. So if this is the next thing you want to do, I'm sure you would power through it and be good.
You're right. I got this.
Yeah. Oh, is there anything I missed here that I should have asked you about that I don't know? Like, I don't want to leave any of this knowledge. Like, if somebody is in a situation, like, are there a couple helpful things that they can do that are simple fixes or simple changes, life hacks, so to speak?
Absolutely. First off is my free beginner's guide to mindful eating, because that is a little gem within a bunch of different gems that just kind of expands your whole mind. And I've gotten some great feedback with that, especially around boredom eating. So for all my besties who don't like to be bored, I got you. That's
with LinkedIn, right? If they jump onto LinkedIn and I'll put the link to your LinkedIn in the description so people can find you there.
The other thing is something that no one is going to want to do, but it does help the most. Journaling.
I was going to say that. I was going to shout it out too. Journaling, yes.
And it's not that you have to do like the reflective prompts. Like, you can if you want to. If you need some ideas, absolutely go for it. I have them on my website. I change them every month. But just getting out any of the thoughts that are spiraling is going to help you clear your mind, and you're going to gain a lot of energy back in your mental load so that you're not going to shut down when you've just exhausted yourself and when you get home from like a long day of work and then just eat everything. It is going to help you understand what's going on, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And even if it doesn't fully help you like come to terms with what's going on, you'll at least be able to let it go and release it and not have to deal with it for a couple minutes.
And what's awesome about that is now you have a record. So in 6 months from now, when you're like, gosh, why isn't it going well? And then you read back to where you were 6 months ago. If you've been doing it consistently, I'm going to bet that things are better off now than they were back then. And now you have proof. You have your own words that you can look back on. So
yeah, it's just like those pictures. Like when people take progress pictures, it's like they want the proof of where they started 6 months ago to now. Why don't you want the mental proof of like where your thoughts were versus where they are now?
Yeah. I honestly, it's a little nerve-wracking and a little embarrassing for people to think through their feelings so much, because a lot of it has been ingrained in us that you just kind of bury it deep down and you know, I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah. Me.
Yeah.
I did it for too long.
Yes, but it's possible to fix though, as you've shown us.
You can find relief. You really can.
Well, Kiley, thank you so much for hopping on the show. And thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate you taking all the time. So Kiley, the best way to find you, I know you're on LinkedIn, and I'll put that there. Do you have a website as well?
I do. It is Kiley's Health Haven LLC.com. I've got a bunch of goodies over there. I do weekly articles. I do monthly journal prompts. I have a long list of ideas, perspective, awareness, reflections that you can just kind of prompt your mind with. If you're not ready to like click on anything, I promise you'll read something and be like, huh.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I will definitely have that in the show notes as well, so people have plenty of places to find you. And at the very least, you can just say hi to Kiley and say, you know, I heard you on the show. Thank you for your insight or whatever. Thanks for making fun of Derek and keeping him going strong. You know, whatever is good. So.
I love it. And thank you so much, Derek. I am so honored to be able to be here and just talk a little bit about what I do, but also just have a little bit of riff with you and enjoy our time together, because you're a great guy to talk to. I have had a great time.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, everybody, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we thank you for taking the time.